For decades, Putin dreamed of dominating Eastern Europe, but there's one country that keeps him awake at night: Poland. The unbreakable, unyielding, unstoppable wall between Russia and the West. A nation that's been invaded, divided, and nearly erased from history, yet somehow always rises stronger. Today, Poland isn't just defying Putin, it's preparing for him, with one of the fastest growing armies in Europe, millions ready to fight, and a burning hatred born from centuries of betrayal. Poland has become the nightmare the Kremlin never wanted, and what's coming next might just shock the entire world. Let's rewind to Putin's darkest memory, the one that shaped his entire worldview and drives every decision he makes today. In 1989, the Berlin Wall falls. The Soviet Empire, once thought eternal, collapses like a house of cards. And where did the first domino fall? Poland. The Solidarity movement, born in the shipyards of Gdansk, didn't just challenge communism, it destroyed it. Polish workers, armed with nothing but courage and conviction, toppled the system that enslaved half of Europe. Lech Walesa and millions of ordinary Poles proved that Soviet power was an illusion, a paper tiger that could be defeated by people demanding freedom. Putin watched this catastrophe from his KGB post in Dresden, Germany. He witnessed the Soviet Union's humiliation firsthand as Eastern European nations broke free, one after another. And it all started in Poland. That trauma never left him. In Putin's mind, Poland isn't just another country, it's a nation that murdered the Soviet Empire. It's the birthplace of the revolution that destroyed everything the KGB stood for. For Putin, this is as personal as it gets. The psychological wound runs deeper than politics or economics. Poland represents the future Putin fears the most, a Slavic nation that chose the West over Russia and won. If Poland can thrive without Moscow, what excuse does Russia have for its failures? What justification remains for Putin's authoritarian system? But here's what really terrifies Putin. Poland didn't just escape Russian domination, it's now leading the fight to ensure Russia can never dominate again. And Poland has the weapons to back it up. Welcome to the most heavily armed nation in Europe. And it's not who you think. Poland is on a military spending spree that makes even Pentagon generals jealous. We're not talking about a few new tanks or fighter jets. We're talking about a complete transformation of military power that's shifting the balance of force in Eastern Europe. The numbers are staggering. Poland's defense budget has exploded to 4% of GDP, the highest percentage in NATO, more than double what most allies spend. That's over $30 billion annually and rising. But it's not just that amount, it's what they're buying with it. Let's start with tanks. Poland is acquiring 1,000, yes, 1,000 modern main battle tanks. 250 American M1 Abrams, the same tanks that dominated Desert Storm. 180 Korean K2 Black Panthers, some of the most advanced armored vehicles ever built. And hundreds of upgraded Polish-made tanks. That's more heavy armor than Germany, France, and even the UK combined. Then there's the most terrifying weapon in Poland's arsenal. Its geographic position. Poland sits between Russia and the rest of Europe like a fortress wall. Any Russian military move toward the west must go through Poland or over it. And Poland is making damn sure that neither option is viable. The Suwalki Gap, a tiny 65-kilometer corridor between Poland and Lithuania, has become the most strategically important piece of land in Europe. It's the only land connection between NATO's Baltic members and the rest of the alliance. Control the Suwalki Group, and you can cut off the Baltics. Lose it, and any Russian dreams of threatening NATO territory become fantasy. Poland has turned that gap into a killing zone. The military infrastructure being built there, bases, supply depots, pre-positioned equipment, ensures that any Russian force attempting to cut off the Baltics would face overwhelming Polish military power within hours. But here's what really keeps Putin's generals up at night. Poland isn't building a defensive military, they're building an offensive one. A military capable of not just defending Poland, but protecting the power across the region. A military that could, if necessary, march all the way to Moscow. And Putin knows it. But the military hardware is only part of the story. Here's a fact that makes the Kremlin absolutely furious. Poland's economy is on track to become stronger than Russia's in almost every way that matters. Wait, how is that possible? Russia has 145 million people, vast natural resources and nuclear weapons. Poland has 38 million people and no oil or gas. Yet, Poland is winning the economic war and it's not even close? Let's look at the numbers that terrify Moscow. Poland's GDP per capita is approximately $18,000 and rising rapidly. Russia's around $14,000 and stagnating. A country with 1/4 of Russia's population and no natural resource wealth is now richer per person than the so-called Russian superpower. But the real story is in the trajectory. Since 1990, Poland's economy has grown to over 300% in real terms. Russia's has barely kept pace with inflation. Polish cities are booming. Warsaw skyline rivals Western European capitals, with gleaming office towers and modern infrastructure. Krakow has become a tech hub, attracting startups and innovation centers. Meanwhile, Russian cities outside Moscow and St. Petersburg are crumbling, with infrastructure dating to Soviet times and living standards that would embarrass a developing nation. The talent drain tells its own story. Thousands of Russians flee their country each year seeking opportunity in the West. Poland has become a destination, not a launching pad. Young, educated Russians are learning Polish and relocating to Warsaw, trading Putin's authoritarian dysfunction for Polish democracy and opportunity. But here's what really crushes Putin's narrative. Poland achieved all this without natural resources. No oil, no gas, no diamonds. Just hard work, good governance, and integration with the Western economic system. Poland proved that a Slavic nation doesn't need Moscow's protection or resources to thrive. It just needs to be free. This economic success demolishes Putin's core justification for authoritarian rule. He claims strongman governance is necessary for stability and prosperity. Poland proves that's a lie. Democracy works, markets work, freedom works. Putin's system is the failure, and Poland is the evidence. Poland is using the economic strength to build something Putin fears even more than Polish tanks: regional leadership. Putin's nightmare isn't just that Poland is strong, it's that Poland is rallying all of Eastern Europe against Russia and winning. Look at what's happened since 2022. While Western European leaders dithered and debated, Poland acted. When Ukraine needed weapons, Poland sent tanks immediately. When refugees flooded across borders, Poland opened its doors to over 1 million Ukrainians. When NATO needed to reinforce the eastern flank, Poland volunteered to host thousands of American troops. This is Putin's worst nightmare come true. Instead of a divided Europe he can manipulate with energy, blackmail, and political interference, he faces a unified coalition led by a country that hates Russia more than any other and has the military and economic power to back up that hatred. Poland has successfully pressured Western Europe to maintain and strengthen sanctions against Russia. Polish diplomats work tirelessly in Brussels and Washington to prevent any backsliding on support for Ukraine. Warsaw has become the megaphone for Eastern European demands that the West cannot ignore. The Three Seas Initiative, a Polish-led effort to connect Baltic, Black, and Adriatic nations through infrastructure and energy projects, is creating an alternative power center in Europe that explicitly excludes Russia. It's building the economic and political integration that will make these nations permanently immune to Russian interference. Poland is also leading the charge on energy independence from Russia. The Baltic Pipe, connecting Norwegian gas to Poland through Denmark, ended Polish dependence on Russian energy. Now Poland is helping other Central European nations escape the same trap, building interconnections that allow gas to flow from multiple sources. The message to Putin is clear. Eastern Europe doesn't need Russia. It doesn't want Russia. And it's building the institutions to ensure Russia can never again dominate the region. Poland is the architect of that future, and there's nothing Putin can do to stop it. But Poland's strategic importance goes beyond regional leadership. It's become the linchpin of NATO's entire defensive strategy in Eastern Europe. Here's the military reality that makes Putin's imperial dreams impossible. Poland has become NATO's most important frontline state, and the alliance is turning it into an impregnable fortress. Over 10,000 American troops are now permanently stationed in Poland, more than in any other European nation except Germany. But unlike Cold War garrisons in Germany, these aren't ceremonial presences. They are combat-ready forces with advanced equipment, prepared to fight within hours of any Russian aggression. The infrastructure supporting these forces is staggering. Poland has built or expanded military bases across the country, creating a network of facilities that can host far more troops if needed. Pre-positioned equipment stockpiles mean NATO could surge tens of thousands of additional forces into Poland within days of a crisis. But here's what truly ends Putin's imperial ambitions. The geography and logistics make a Russian attack on Poland suicidal. Any Russian force moving west would face the entire weight of NATO military power concentrated in the most defensible terrain in Eastern Europe. The logistics of supporting such an offensive are impossible, especially after Russia's military incompetence in Ukraine exposed its profound weakness. Putin's nuclear threats become hollow when confronted with Poland's strategic position. Any use of tactical nuclear weapons against Poland means attacking a NATO member state with thousands of American troops present, an Article 5 trigger that would bring the full force of the Western alliance down on Russia. Putin's regime would not survive the response. Poland has effectively become the wall that ends Putin's dreams of recreating the Russian Empire. Any move west is blocked. Any threat to the Baltics must go through Poland. Any attempt to intimidate Eastern Europe faces Polish military power backed by the entire NATO alliance. The irony is delicious. Poland, the nation that started the collapse of the Soviet power, has now become the fortress ensuring Russian power can never return. History has come full circle, and Putin is on the wrong side of it. But what about the future? The ultimate nightmare for Putin isn't what Poland is today, it's what Poland is becoming. And there's absolutely nothing Russia can do to stop it. Poland's trajectory is upward across every metric that matters. The economy continues growing. The military continues modernizing. The regional influence continues expanding. Meanwhile, Russia declines across the same metrics, trapped in a downward spiral of isolation and decay. Within a decade, Poland will be one of the most powerful nations in Europe, period. Not just in Eastern Europe, all of Europe. The combination of economic dynamism, military capability, and strategic positioning will make Poland indispensable to European security and prosperity. The generational shift within Poland ensures this trajectory continues. Young Poles have no memory of communism, no nostalgia for Russian influence, and no patience for any accommodation with Moscow. They see Russia as a failing state that threatens their future, and they're determined to build a Poland strong enough to crush any Russian threat permanently. The Ukrainian partnership will emerge as one of the most important geopolitical relationships of the 21st century. Poland and Ukraine, united by their hatred of Russian imperialism and their determination to keep it from returning, will form an economic and military bloc that dominates Eastern Europe for generations. Here's the future that Putin cannot prevent. Poland leads a coalition of free nations that permanently contains Russian power. Russia becomes increasingly isolated, economically stagnant, and militarily impotent. The Russian sphere of influence becomes a historical curiosity, something discussed in past tense like the Ottoman Empire or Austria-Hungary. And Vladimir Putin? He'll be remembered as the Russian leader who lost Eastern Europe forever. The dictator who thought he could intimidate Poland into submission only to discover he'd awakened a giant. The fool who believed Russian power was eternal, when in fact he was presiding over its terminal decline. That's why Poland keeps Putin awake at night, because Poland is the future, and Russia is the past. And no amount of nuclear weapons or propaganda can change that reality. Poland has transformed from victim to victor, from occupied to occupier of the moral high ground, from broken to unbreakable. It's the ultimate revenge story, and Putin is the villain who loses in the end. Poland has faced every empire, every tyrant, and survived them all. Putin may dream of conquests, but Poland's spirit is one battle he'll never win. If you found this story powerful, hit like, smash subscribe, and watch the next video, because the fight for Europe's future is only just beginning. Welcome to Poland's century. Putin's nightmare has only just begun.